I'll call this meeting to order, and at this time, I will just go ahead and do the, if you don't mind, invocation. Our Father, we thank you for just blessing us from the last time we was here. We thank you for our presenters that are here tonight. We ask you to bless everyone that's here, bless the ones that's on the way. And we ask you to come into our meeting, that we may discuss items, that we may disagree and agree in love. This is our prayer. We ask in your name. Amen. Amen. Okay. All right. I'm going to start with the agenda. We do have a couple of things to cover for tonight. We got a long agenda to try to get over here and get out. As I was talking to the police officers, this is just the first beginning of the storm. The second one is coming in from the Triad area, and that should be in here about time we get ready to get out of here, okay? And we hope to get out of here at least by 8:30, okay? So we're going to try to move everything pretty well, because we want to make sure for your safety of you all that everything will be okay. Adderley is not here tonight. I'm just going to give you a couple of things that they told me, and that we have to do with, and there's some flyers back on the back. We do have our big sleep spring 2019, Saturday, April the 13th from 9 a.m. to noon. This is one that Camp and Charles Rodman, everybody else, some of the people in here work with. So you got a flyer back there to do that. Hope some people show up for that next Saturday from 9 a.m. to noon. Walnut Creek, Wetland Park. So the flyer back there on. They got the Easter egg, they call it the egg hunt. So you got them all over the place. But it's Saturday, April the 13th also, at 11 a.m. And one in our area, you got three. You got John Chavis, which will be at Chavis Park. You got Roberts Park, you got Worthdale Park, and others are Peach Road, Mordecai, Aber Creek, Briar Creek, and Laura Hills. So that's next Saturday at 11 a.m. So come out, bring the kids out, and let them have some fun with that, okay? And then the third thing, you can pick up a flyer back there on the back. Sanford Road program, spring 2019. They're talking about the summer camp, talking about the dance to get fit, STEM fun, Southeast Raleigh baseball, hot time, fun Friday, and they got a spring egg decorating thing going over here on the 18th. Yeah, all these year flyers back, so pick them up on the way back, because next Thursday is a big activity day around here. Okay. All right, and then at this time, our community person wanted to make an announcement about a topic that she wanted to bring up about 2 minutes.
Okay. Hi, everybody. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Pam Adderley. I'm the Community Relations Analyst for the South CAC. So I am your link to any services or resources from the city that you need, right? And if you ever have any questions for me, my name, my phone number, and my email address are on the upper left hand. Well, you're right. First thing is, you might find a survey on your seat. If you don't, then it's probably on an empty seat because we had a limited number. But these are from Adam, the center director, and he would like you guys to complete these and leave them at the front desk. And you have your minutes, should be on your chairs as well. If you don't have them, there's probably a copy on an empty chair. And if you might notice that Cyrus Atkins is recording. Cyrus Atkins is our social media coordinator, and he is trying out the Mevo cameras. So we're not streaming, but he's recording because this sensor doesn't have the bandwidth for us to link into. The RCAC is right now voting on the hotspots, and so as soon as we get that, then Cyrus will be able to use those. So just want to put those at ease who are not who would not like to be on camera. The only thing that will be recorded is the presenter, so it'll be from here forward, okay? And there will be the landlord training. I don't know how many people are aware of the City of Raleigh's landlord training, but there's a training twice a year, once in the fall and once in the spring. The spring class is coming up. It's going to be on April 24th, and it's from 8:30 to 4:30. And so if there are any landlords, property managers, or just those interested in learning more about managing properties, how to select tenants, how to, the police will be there actually to help you learn how to keep your property safe and keep your renters safe. So if you're interested in that, it's an all-day training. It's going to be at the Raleigh Housing Authority, and it costs $30, but that includes your breakfast and your lunch. And so if you're interested, please give me a call. I'll help you get registered. Okay, anybody have any questions for me? All right, thank you for coming.
Thank you, Megan. Appreciate it. Don't forget, if you walked in and did not sign in, make sure you sign in.
And please too.
Yeah. Especially Officer Leggett, right? Okay, we're going to have Officer Leggett and his crew to do a report. For your information, we emailed Officer Leggett and told him about one of the things that just hit on briefly. And it had to do with the accidents on Quarry thing that's going on. The reason why I say briefly, because we already have the City of Raleigh and DOT scheduled for next month to cover this in detail for us. So he's just going to, along with his report for tonight. So Officer Leggett, I'm going to turn it over to you and your crew. And you can introduce everyone respectively.
Hopefully everybody knows me, Officer Leggett. I've got quite a crew back here with me. So we've got Sergeant Falcon, Sergeant Closeweller, and Captain Hunt, who are all here in the district. Captain Hunt is the new district commander who came and talked to you probably last meeting or the meeting before, and then sergeants here are both my bosses. So I'm trying not to mess this up. Before I get started, somebody has a birthday in the crowd. Does anybody want to guess whose birthday it is?
You. It's me.
So happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Alex.
And I'll get started on the numbers, and then we'll touch on some of the traffic safety going on specifically right here at Sanford and Rock Quarry. Hopefully everyone got a 28-day cycle to take a look at just as a reference. Everything actually looks pretty good compared to last month. So we're down 19% overall. Still having an issue with larceny from motor vehicle. I'm going to go over just a few of these, and I'll try to answer any questions you've got, and then we'll move on. Our assaults here, one of those, we've arrested a subject, and then the second one that you'll see, 1920, is actually the Handy Hugos right there. There was a subject shot there at about 10:30 at night recently, so we're still following up with a lot of that, but the investigation is ongoing. We'll continue down to the burglaries, the residential burglaries specifically, which we've only got 3, so that's awesome. We'll shoot for 0 the next month, but in one of the instances, a garage door was left open and somebody came in and took a scooter. So it happens all the time. We rush, we get in a hurry and forget, or we get tired, and just double, triple, quadruple check that you lock your stuff, shut your doors, so that sort of thing doesn't happen. Another incident, we had entry made into a side door. Flat screen TV was taken, which is not uncommon. Electronics are normally a big ticket item. And then one instance, nothing was taken. It looked like maybe some juveniles were shooting at somebody's back glass, and they broke their glass with a BB gun or a pellet gun. So if you see that sort of thing, I know a lot of times you think it's harmless, but somebody comes home and they're thinking the worst. They come home and their back glass is broken out, and it's not a good feeling. So if you see that sort of thing, please call us. Not supposed to be discharging any sort of firearm, whether it's a BB gun or a rifle, in the city limits. Larceny from motor vehicle, I'll touch on briefly just on the larcenies first before I get to that. So some of those are related. One related to the assault, obviously you see 1601, the blue ribbon court there. Keys were taken during that. So part of, I don't know that I've talked about it before, but part of the way that we document incidents, something's going to appear. So you'll see the assault there, you see the larceny. They're separate. It's one incident, but there's separate crimes that have occurred, so they kind of duplicate. Is why you may see those repeated some. A couple of the larcenies were actually just about half of the larcenies were involving somewhere where the suspect and victim knew each other. So not a totally random crime. And then 2 or 3 that you see there are from shopping centers, likely shoplifting or something like that. The larceny from motor vehicle, 2 or 3 of those were license plates taken off the back of vehicles. If you see somebody late at night, is typically when those are happening, snooping around a vehicle, which we had in one instance, somebody called, and we were actually able to arrest someone for tampering with vehicles. So I tell you guys all the time, but we absolutely depend on you to call. If you're not calling, then unfortunately, I wish there was thousands and thousands of us and we could be in every single, every mile and see everything that's going on. But we depend on you guys to call and let us know about things. So that we can get there quickly and address them. Some of the other ones that I just briefly want to talk about in the larceny from motor vehicles, that's again went up 100% from last month. 3 of those, let's see. Again, I talked about the license plates. A gentleman went to a park to play basketball and go for a jog and left his car unlocked with his gun inside the car. So please, 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 please. I know it seems like, something's easy enough. I'm just going to be gone for a little while. It's not a big deal. If you have anything like that in your car, I don't know, you shouldn't have it in the park to begin with. But please lock your car up so that we don't show up and find out that a gun's missing and it's out on the street somewhere. Another instance, again, was attempted. An arrest was made. And then we had another instance where someone left like a valuable item in the back of their truck bed overnight. Again, it's just in general, just kind of a bad idea. Try not to do that. Somebody's going to walk by. It's the way it works. Somebody's going to walk by and see it and think, "Ooh, I can make some money off of that." So, or I could use that. Motor vehicle theft. Again, one of those falls on the garage that was left open. The scooter that was taken, so again, it kind of duplicates there. But other than that, again, overall we're down 19%, so I think we're pretty good. I'll try to answer a couple of questions regarding that, and then we'll move on to everything else. Yes, ma'am.
BB guns, are they only supposed to be used by people of a certain age? Is there an age limit on that, or how does that work?
Not an age limit, but just not fired in the city limits.
And one other question. You may not be able to say specifically, but there's a store that I frequent a lot, and it seems like there's been more security guards there. You guys have been there more often. And I'm just wondering, in general, are you noticing an uptick in shoplifting in the stores in this area?
I don't know that I'm noticing a change. Honestly, I would think just where our larcenies are, the vast majority of the larcenies that we see, other than, there was a time there where copper was being taken from AC units and things like that. We'll see packages taken from front porches that are being delivered from Amazon or eBay. But one of the biggest things is there are so many shopping centers down here that we do see a lot of our larcenies are either shoplifting or some sort of concealment of goods type of charge that appears on the report. But they're down. I haven't looked at them that closely, but I don't think that's an issue that we're necessarily noticing, and y'all feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, bro.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Yes, sir.
On these turnover homes in the neighborhood that people are buying, and they like to run them out to people that might be, renting like a room or something like that. I know that's probably on part of the audience of, something, but, and then, maybe a few months, they'll come up and have a house for sale, but the people still kind of living in there. Like there's a lot of traffic, especially on my street right now. Got 2 houses there now, they're both for sale. And the guy that does the renting of these houses understands that he's connected with drugs.
Do you have a specific address? I'll try to look up.
709, I know that. I'm in 705, 709, then in the 800 block of same street. He got the houses back for sale. He haven't been too long bought them. Now he got them back up for sale.
What was the street name, sir?
Newcomb.
Okay. I'll follow up. I'm not aware of, what that could be. I mean, I don't know that there's any stipulation that I know of, at least through the police department, as far as whether somebody can rent or the period allowed for that, and then being up for sale. But if there's a lot of traffic and other activity, that may be something that we can refer to one of our, whether it's a drug unit or something like that, to try to follow up with. All right.
There is a city ordinance on renting of rooms within the area. So just like you said, he'll do a follow-up on that. We do have a city ordinance. And you buy, but can you rent, and what can you rent out there, within that part. But he'll do a follow-up on that thing. But there's a city ordinance on renting of rooms. Not renting of the house, but renting of rooms in a place.
All right.
Can you start back in that area, please?
Sure.
Okay.
Are you noticing anywhere in particular?
Same house on the corner.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, so we'll talk just briefly about some of the traffic issues, some of the safety concerns, and what we're trying to do as the police department. And it's not something that we can totally address ourselves. As you've mentioned, there's going to be, it's unfortunately that area of Rock Quarry Road is the state DOT, so we can't. I mean, they're not going to listen to what we have to say necessarily. As far as the police department and what we can do to address some of the safety and speed of vehicles is speed enforcement. I believe within the last just about 2 weeks, since the crash, there's been 35 vehicle stops right there, which is probably up from where we've seen it in quite a bit. And that's partly because of Close Wheeler reaching out to our traffic unit and patrol officers that are working the area. I hope you've maybe noticed as well, last week we placed our speed signs out on Sandiford. So those will probably be there for a bit with additional, blue and white. They're running radar or LiDAR and trying to address some of the speed issues. And then those will eventually move to Rock Quarry Road as well, and we'll follow up with that. We can enforce speed all day long, and we're not going to be able to stop every vehicle from speeding. There's no way that we can do that. We can continue to do it, and then part of that is hopefully working with DOT or finding plans that they have to try to, whether that's a intersection configuration, changing that so that traffic has to slow down, or traffic calming, or public works as far as sidewalks and the way the road is configured there. It's definitely a multifaceted issue that's not going to be handled by just the police department or DOT or yes.
So I know when the red light camera was there, do you remember that, Mr. Weed?
Oh, yeah.
That red light camera there. It seems like people slow down more because they think they're going to get caught. But at the intersection of Peace Street and near where the bridge is, I can't remember the exact store, but there is a red light camera that's there all the time, and it doesn't move around like some of the other ones do. How do we get one that just stays there and not move around? Because that would, I think, help with the speeding.
The red light camera?
It's a red light camera.
Or is it a speed?
No,
Just a speed.
it's a red light camera right there on P Street, right underneath that bridge where the trucks are always catching
West
it.
Street.
Thank you, sir. It's,
Facing west.
exactly, exactly. But it's there all the time, it's mounted on a pole, it doesn't rotate around the city like the other ones do. And I'm just wondering how we could possibly get one that stays at that intersection of our quarry to help overall long-term.
Typically what happens is, they'll put the red light cameras up, and once the accidents and the crashes decrease, then they'll move them somewhere else. So when the accidents and crashes decrease, typically they'll move them somewhere else. But in those locations, there are continuous violations and continuous crashes.
Okay, gotcha.
All right?
I got you. Okay.
And that's what happened off of Quarry Road at the shopping center.
Okay.
They had one there and the accidents decreased and they moved it.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. And we'll be back next month and hopefully
Yeah, and then go with the
have some more to
city.
add on.
Okay, appreciate it very much.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. We appreciate everything you're doing.
Yes.
And keep that blue and, sign out there at the entrance as long as you can.
Okay.
All right, before I forget, and nobody never remind me, let's get approval of the April 8th minutes. Can I get a motion to approve the April 8th minutes?
So
Only
moved.
correction had to do with the time. I would love to get out of here at 8:05, but we didn't get out of here at 8:05. We got out of here at 8:30, okay? So we make that'll be the only correction. We did, and already totally, okay?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, give your name, I know it,
Alexandria Alexander.
okay, and Florence, okay? Need a second. Okay, thank you very much. All those in favor of the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposes? And the minutes are accepted. Okay, I do not see Fabian here, so we'll go right into our next presenter, which will be, Sean, Engineering Services. Thank you for coming up on the South Barwell.
Okay, so my name is Sean Driskill. I'm here representing the city of Raleigh. As some of you may know, we have a Barwell road widening project. It runs from Rock Quarry to Berkeley Lake. That's also right there at Neals Creek. How it affects your CAC is we're going to be realigning Pearl Road to intersect Barwell at Rock Quarry in a nice normal fashion compared to what it is now. It's offset. So that'll include like new signal design, signal timing, crosswalks, like the whole 9 yards for an intersection. There are some alternatives associated, with this project. Really, the reason I'm here is to encourage all of you to come to the public meeting, which is April 23rd, Tuesday, April 23rd, at Barwell Community Center from 6 to 7:30. I'll get to that more in a minute. But the two alternatives that we're going to be discussing in that public meeting is really what we're doing outside the roadway from curb to curb. One alternative along Barwell has us doing a sidewalk on one side and a multi-use path on the other. So sidewalk's like 6 feet, multi-use path is 10. And that one's pretty clean because we can tie into existing sidewalk that's on that east side of the road where the school and fire station is. So that would be like less impact, that whole corridor, especially like the width of the right of way. We'll still be getting into some people's homes a little bit, like a little bit outside the right of way. I don't want to say homes. I meant like where your property line like ends at the street. There's a right of way that goes into that where the city has basically first say in like putting in utilities and widening the road. The other alternative, it's a little wider, a little more infringent upon right of way acquisitions, but it's a bike lane and a sidewalk on both sides of the road. And then we're giving the consultant some freedom as to how they want to do that separation. Like outside the museum, there's that nice buffer But there's also some different designs with tapered curves, ADA compliance, and all that stuff. So SEPI Engineering is our consultant for this project. They'll be managing the design and the construction. My role is a project manager and overseeing the project for the city. So I'll be managing schedule and budget and providing the South CAC and Southeast CAC with updates. So I'll be continuously sending updates to Pam, maybe not month to month, but intermittently, like letting you guys know where we are. Some of you might have received survey notices that we sent out. That's if you live closer to Pearl, and that's just letting you know that we'll be on site, or our consultant may be like roaming around a little bit, taking survey shots. So like I said, our first public meeting will be Tuesday, April 23rd. That's a pre-conceptual design meeting, so we're still trying to really hone down what we want to move forward with at 25 and 65. This meeting I'll give like a brief presentation like this, and then it'll be a workshop, so that we'll have a number of renderings and like streetscapes that we'll have. And me and some other like city workers will go around and answer questions. And we will encourage your input and feedback as to what works, what doesn't work, any recommendations you have. And then at 25, we'll have a whole drawn out presentation for the public. And even it'll be a larger meeting. At 25%, that's kind of your chance to provide the feedback. That's really important to note. Like, that's when we need to hear from you. And those recommendations need to be heard, because at our 65% public meeting, your recommendations will be very hard to implement at that time. Based on how much money we've spent in design and where we are, any changes will be very minimal. So our 65% meeting is more of like kind of selling to you guys what we're doing. And hopefully, it's okay by then. We've gotten all the feedback we need and everyone's on the same page. So I really encourage you to come to those meetings. We sent 500 postcards out in the mail. If you don't receive those, it's okay. We couldn't send multiple thousand, so I tried to pick the best kind of area within our project corridor that made sense feasibly to send out postcards. I'll be attending these CAC meetings. You'll also see signs along the Barwell Road a couple weeks before the meeting that will say Barwell Road Widening Project, public meeting, April 23rd. And then you can always, I encourage you for more than just this project, but visit RaleighNC.gov. If you search Barwell Road Project, a whole project page comes up that pretty much tells you everything I just told you. Summary, there's a design schedule in there. So for our design, the main points, what you guys are probably interested in, is the design starting now, and we expect it to be completed like January 2021. It's pretty large area, but the permitting that's involved in it, and realistically the land acquisition part is what takes a long time. If we have to go to condemnation for any reason, for any little bits, we have to get all that done. And then we'll go into pre-construction, and there'll be more meetings for that, pre-construction meetings that we'll have with the public. So, yeah, thanks for letting me talk. I'm really excited about the project. I think it's nice for that area. Something also worth noting, we're going to try to reduce the speed limit through that corridor. That's going to be not really our decision, but DOT's decision. But our design speed, so currently it's 45, 35 at the school. We're going to design it to a 40 mile per hour speed based on those turns and what we're doing in there. But we're going to try to get DOT to lower it to a 35 with our design. And we're going to be working with like the planning department for that to try to implement those. So, yes, ma'am.
Excuse me. I do plan on being at the meeting, but can you tell me, is it anticipate the line, stoplight, the light on Barwell, is that gonna be so it can meet in with Pearl, or you don't know?
Yeah, it will be.
Okay.
So right now,
that's the
Pearl,
key.
like if you're coming down Pearl toward Rock Quarry, that intersection's to your left.
Yeah.
You're looking over. So we're gonna make it to where that intersection in the city of Raleigh's goal for any intersection around the city is to make it as square as possible. Cause that's the shortest distance that you walked across the road, and there's a number of other compliance reasons why it makes the most sense. So yes, we will square that off. We'll have like wheelchair ramps. It's all gonna be, lighted up with the signals for the road, and there's a school right there, so we're gonna pay close attention to
Thank
all
you so
that
much.
as well. I guess it's worth noting that the city is trying to move the bike lanes like out of the roadway, especially at higher speed roads. At 35, we can probably get them in, but it's y'all's opinion, but I know what I like, and that's that out of the out of the roadway. Especially if you have your own lane, that sounds pretty nice. Anyone else have any other questions? Go ahead.
Are there any dedicated right turn lanes going on?
Yes. Okay, so I'm glad you asked. I didn't really get into it. So the Pearl intersection, I imagine, will have, so right now it's 2 lanes, and Barwell will be what's called a 2-lane divided. So there'll be 1 lane in each direction, your designated lane, and then there'll be your designated left-hand turn lane. Where the left-hand turn lane isn't, we'll probably have like the median through there, where there are no left turns, and maybe like some trees to break apart the roadway. But at Pearl intersection, if you're approaching Rock Quarry from Pearl, I don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but I know there will be a designated left-hand turn there, probably with an arrow, and then your designated right-hand turn, which is either going to be a straight or a right, or a straight and a right. But I'll let the volumes, the traffic counts speak to that, and those will be questions I can answer probably at 25. We'll have some of those like renderings laid out.
Thank you.
But kind of think about what you want outside the corridor and any recommendations you have through there. So this will go through all the committees like the pedestrian and bicycle and appearance commission and all those. So it's a long process, but there's a lot of feedback that we get from a number of different groups, and your feedback is important. So I'm sure you'll see more of me in the future.
Thank you very much. Have you been to the Southeast CAC?
I go Thursday.
Thursday, I thought you were on the agenda for Thursday.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, good. Thank you very much.
Sure.
And don't forget that public hearing on April the 23rd. Be there for that if you can at the Barwell Community Center. Very important to be there for that.
It's also on the bottom of your, tonight's agenda.
Right, it's already, that's right, yes. Okay. I know Fabian is not here, but I'd like to put a plug in for him. I got 3 reports from different neighborhoods, and I reported it to him, and he did go out and took care of them. So I just wanted to put a plug in for him. 3 different neighborhoods, including my neighborhood, called him. So he did go out and take care of those 3 and notified me after it was over with that it was taken care of, okay? All right. We'll go right on to the comprehensive plan amendment and rezoning. I think we have, who is back in back? Yes, you want to come up and introduce yourself? Sure. You're the city of Raleigh representative.
Yeah.
And,
Don
I know,
is back here.
oh, Don is back there? Okay, all right, both of them, okay. Go ahead, you can go ahead and start and tell us what you're talking about. And then, Don, if you have something to say, you can go and come on up too, okay?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Neil Ghosh. I'm an attorney with the Morningstar Law Group here in Raleigh. I feel like I'm probably a little too young to be saying this, but technology wasn't agreeing with me today, so I had a presentation prepared, but fortunately, I can't show it to you. But anyway, this is so on your agenda it says comp plan amendment and rezoning, and that originally is what we filed, but due to some administrative decisions that were made in the city of Raleigh, there is no longer a comp plan amendment that is required for this, so we've withdrawn that application. So this is just a rezoning. functionally, it shouldn't make any difference, I don't think, to anybody here. The rezoning, I think, would be what you're most interested in. The property is about what's located at 2003 Quarry Road. That's across from the big church there. It's just south of the Family Dollar, right in that area. So the property is about 1.55 acres, and currently on the future land use map, it is designated for moderate density residential. If you don't know what the future land use map is, I'll tell you. The future land use map is a policy document, and it describes what the city would like to see developed on this property and every property in the city in the future. So our rezoning is inconsistent with the future land use map, and originally that is why we filed a comprehensive plan amendment, but as I told you, it's no longer needed. If you're familiar with that intersection, that area, a residential designation probably doesn't make sense. There's already non-residential in that area. There is a apartment complex over there, but not quite at that intersection. And so what my client is looking to do is to rezone to neighborhood mixed use with the height limitation of 3 stories with a parking limited frontage and some other zoning conditions, which I'll go into. And what they want to do is, all right, they want to put a Little Caesars there. And if you're familiar with the area, you're probably where there's a Little Caesars in the shopping center that's kind of catty-corner. That's the one they're moving. So their lease is going to be coming up, and they would like to open a standalone store, which would allow them to serve more people and to serve everyone more quickly. And so that food option will remain in this area generally. They're just going to have a standalone store, which should be probably better for everyone who does frequent that Little Caesars there. Some of the zoning conditions we've added include limiting, well, I'll go into the parking limited frontage. Basically what that requires or prohibits is you can only have 2 bays of parking between the building and the right-of-way. So what that's supposed to do is to make it easier for pedestrians to go from the sidewalk to the building. You're not having to cross a whole sea of parking. It's only going to be 2 bays of parking at most. And the way it's looking on the design probably won't be that many, but at most it will be 2. The other zoning conditions we've added is a limitation on building height at 35 feet. Generally speaking, that's like 2 stories residential. So it's not going to be a very tall building. And then after that, we've eliminated the ability for townhomes to be on this property and for an apartment complex to be on this property. So we've prohibited that by zoning condition. And the last condition is a condition which limits the uses on the property. So we've prohibited things like schools, daycare, a prison, which I think is probably a good thing to eliminate. Oh, notably, we've also eliminated like nightclub, bar, lounge. Those things would not be on this property. As I told you, the plan is to do a Little Caesars store here, probably about 2,200 square feet. So not very large, larger than what is in the shopping center, but not very large. But we wanted to maintain some flexibility in case someone would want to do something different on their property later. But we've eliminated a lot of the uses which we thought would be a distraction or a detriment to the neighborhood. That's really all I have prepared to talk about. I'm happy to answer any questions. I also have my card here. If anybody's interested, you can contact me. No problem. Yes.
First question, will there be a dedicated right turn lane? I'm just envisioning evening traffic being somewhat of a nightmare. It sounds like it's going to feel like Wake Forest Road.
So most likely there will not be a dedicated turn lane into the facility. That's what you're asking, right? Yeah, most likely there will not be. And that's typically it's going to be based on the type of volume you expect at that, at that business. And I don't think that it will be approaching those types of numbers to warrant an additional turn lane. However, that will be looked at time of site plan, and if it is warranted, it will be required. But just to give you my opinion on it, I don't think it's going to have that type of volume or expect that type of volume. So I don't think they're going to have that.
And what was the reason for the restrictions on the residential pieces around the townhomes? And I don't understand why you would want to make that a condition that you would not build townhomes and that when it's already housing in that area.
Yes, there's also a lot of non-residential in that area, like the Family Dollar and the shopping center right across the way. So the idea there is to make sure when we go to council or planning commission to let you know what we're trying to do here is non-residential. Because that zoning does allow for residential, but we want to be very clear about what we're doing. It's more for clarity than anything. I don't think there's anything wrong with townhomes at that location, but we want our application to reflect actually what we're trying to do. And so we just want to be very upfront and very clear about that.
And Mr. Weeks, I just wanted to mention that there was only 2 people that attended the neighborhood meeting.
That's
according to the
correct.
record.
Yes, I saw that. Yes, that's correct.
So
Yes,
this
ma'am.
is the property that's right beside the Family Dollar
Yes.
there on, so basically you're just wanting to put a little Caesar pizza standalone, nothing else.
That's right. That's right. So, are there any other questions? I'm happy to. Okay, so we'll be back next month for a vote. And, I do want to give you, I often get this question either at the meeting or after the meeting, someone might email me. Timeline-wise, we'll be back in front of you guys next month for a vote. But ahead of that, we're probably going to be on the April 23 Planning Commission, I think. Yeah, April 23 Planning Commission. We're just going to be asking for a deferral before they make a recommendation because we'd like for them to have the benefit of the vote at CAC. After that, we'll probably be back at the Planning Commission maybe May 14, and hopefully to get a recommendation that date. And then after that, it'll be City Council maybe in June, mid-June, just to let you know.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Tom?
Yeah, if I may, just a couple of points of clarification.
Good evening.
Appreciate you coming.
Sure thing. Good evening. I'm Don Belk. I'm with the Department of City Planning. Just a couple of things. The standalone restaurant, of course, that is something that's allowed in the neighborhood mixed use. Neil mentioned a number of conditions. Those become part of the zoning code for that property. So, and it runs with the property. So, if the rezoning is approved, regardless of what happens with the current owner and Little Caesars for that matter, if they decide to put in another franchise or something like that, they certainly could. But the conditions on the prohibition of uses, the elimination of the residential uses, that all would stay with the property, even if it's sold. A new owner, if they want to do something different, they would have to come in and go through the rezoning process again, coming back to the CAC and so forth. So I just wanted to clarify that. And also, the comprehensive plan amendment was originally submitted to us. However, there was legislation last year that attempted to clarify some of the requirements for how cities how zoning, rezoning requests comply with the comprehensive plan. And our attorney's interpretation of that has led to basically a procedural change. So as Neil mentioned, that is no longer necessary. However, in our report, we will note that the proposal is inconsistent with the future land use map because the current land use designation is for moderate density residential, as Neil mentioned. However, that correction to the map would be made if the rezoning is approved. So it's become something of a procedural matter. I should also note that the Family Dollar and the is it a Valero, I believe, on the corner? Those are zoned, I think, neighborhood mixed use as well as community mixed use on one of the parcels. And those are also designated as moderate density residential on the future land use map. So that amendment, which will no longer be applied, would have actually corrected that for those two parcels as well. This is a growing area. I'm sure you've seen the increase in building activity in various locations, number of rezonings that have occurred in the last few months. One thing that I also wanted to note, There are a number of residential properties, and I believe they are all rental properties right now. I'm not even sure they're all occupied. There's about 6 single-family homes that front Rock Quarry Road, as well as some duplexes that front Edwin Road. Those are all under single ownership, so I'm not quite sure, if there's any plans for that. We haven't heard anything, but just to point out that this, not only this parcel, but it appears that this entire area that's fronted by Rock Quarry and Edwin is subject to change. So I have cards, which I'll be happy to put on the table back there. So if you have any questions, and I think my information's in your newsletter as well. So, is there any other questions? Yes.
At the neighborhood meeting, one of the questions that was asked was about the points of access.
Yes.
And apparently there are 2 existing curbs right now, and the plan is to use both, but it says here that the NCDOT could decide to relegate it to 1. Under what circumstances would they consider doing that?
I'm not sure of the particular circumstances, but I know that there are a lot of curb cuts on Rock Quarry, not only that parcel, but all of the single-family homes. So eliminating a number of those would be a positive thing. There's also, and this won't be determined to rezoning, but when the site plan for the restaurant is coming through the city, they will make a determination about that access point at that time. Also, there could very well be another access to that off of Edwin. So there would be 2 points. They just wouldn't both be on Rock Quarry.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you.
You have one more question right here.
Yes.
I was going to ask you, with the houses there now, and if this should go up before those houses are either rezoned or done away with, would they put up a barrier?
Yes, that's a good question. There will be a transition required, and there's a number of things that the restaurant owner will be required to do, but they have some options whether to put additional shrubbery to kind of buffer the area. Also, they can build a fence or a wall to basically to reduce the impact of the commercial use onto residential uses. So yes, that would be a requirement.
Any other question? Our representative, he come in and give us all the good information. Appreciate it very much.
Thanks very much.
Okay. All right, on this next item, Old Town Project. For your information, this is an update. You heard about this many years ago. We have Beth and her crew that's here today, and I met with the developer, and I also looked at some of the property that they had developed and thing. And this, as we say, this is informational only, and they are coming back. This is about a 3-month process. Okay, so you won't get all your answers tonight. He's just going to show you some things. And I'm going to turn it over to you, but I want you to know we're talking about April, May, and June before we even have a vote or anything on it, okay?
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
My name is Beth Trahos. I'm an attorney with Nelson Mullins. I'm here tonight on behalf of the Halley Companies. I've got with me Eric Rifkin with the Halley Companies and Brian Purdy with McAdams, the engineering group that's involved in the project. Maybe we'll start with the overview map, Eric, which is in the corner that Brian brought, just to, I'm going to put them on my wall here, but just to remind everybody of the Old Town property. Rock Quarry Road, New Hope Road here, all of the grayed out area is a part of Old Town. So it's altogether about 605 acres. The Halley Company is the owner of what we call the residential portion of Old Town, and so it is. It excludes the property on the far side of New Hope Road, as well as these 3 interior tracts, which are owned by a couple of different property owners who are intending to rezone them for the retail use that was originally intended. They are represented by a gentleman named Chuck Walker, and unfortunately he had a conflict and couldn't be here tonight. So he asked that we give a little overview of what they're talking about. and he promised that he would be here at your next meeting. So the Halley Group owns this larger portion, which is intended primarily for residential, and others own the about 120 acres, which are intended to be commercial, so retail, office, and that kind of thing. So what I'd like to do is, I know we have a limited time, but what I'd like to do is have Eric introduce himself to you and tell you a little bit about Halley Communities, and then we can sort of go through the details of the presentation.
Thanks, Beth, for the introduction. My name is Eric Rifkin. I'm the Assistant Vice President of Halley Companies. Our company is based in Silver Spring, Maryland, but we have an office here locally in Apex, right across from Town Hall. We've been in this market for about 15 years. We started with the Villages of Apex project in 2004, and ever since then we've been buying large tracts of land and putting together master plan communities. Typically these include some form of commercial, some multifamily, some townhomes, and some single-family residential homes. Really since the recession, we've bought probably about 1,400 acres in the area, so we're very committed to our presence here, and every step we've taken has continued to solidify that. Old Town is the largest purchase we've made to date. We're very excited about the opportunities here and to be a part of the community. So one of the focal points of our business is apartments. Right now, the current zoning allows for apartments only if they are restricted to senior living. And that would be an age-targeted type product in accordance with federal law. We typically build a non-age restricted product. And I have some pictures to show you what that looks like in renderings and one of our projects. So these are a couple of renderings of previous projects we've done that are upside which you all can look at. And then I also brought some here, which are an actual project we did. It's the most recent project we completed in Garner, right off the intersection of 401 and 1010. Is that the one right now? Yes, this is the one that Mr. Weeks came to see. Here's an overall view showing the amenity with the pool, surrounded by some of the other amenities in the area. We do a volleyball court, basketball court. We do, well, this one had a putting green, but it's got an outdoor pool with grills. It has a wading pool. Do something here. Yeah, I'm not enough. This is a typical building. We use exterior materials like brick and hardy. It's a nice product. It's a 3-story garden style walk up, and that's pretty typical of what we do. Thank you. This is a picture of the indoor pool. Stays open all year round, 82 degrees, 84 degrees in the air. Mr. Weeks can appreciate how warm it was in that room when we were in there. And then just a picture of the pool from the back of the clubhouse. It's a good sized pool. We keep it open typically from April 1st until October.
These are apartments.
Yes.
And so, the residential component of Old Town, as
They're durable. Lights flickering,
maybe next time.
stuff. They're durable.
The residential component of Old Town is currently zoned to allow 1,700 total units, which was a little bit less than the original approval in 2003. I think in 2003 it was originally approved for 2,450 is my recollection. So when we came in for the rezoning for the residential portion last year, we reduced that to 1,700. Of those, about 300 as currently approved can be apartments, and with the restriction to senior living as we discussed. And what the Halley Group would like to do is increase that number up to 350 and allow them to be used by all age groups, so not age restricted. The remainder of the 1,700 units would be townhomes or single family homes, and probably a variety of styles and types and price points throughout the community. And that's, sort of the gist of what the Halley Group is thinking with regard to the residential. The commercial folks have some detailed.
Before you get into that, let me plug in something.
Mhm.
Oh, as we mentioned, don't forget in 2003, that's when Councilman West and the Old Town Project came out and they talked about the golf course and all this. But the golf course is eliminated. You won't hear this in this. But I think the second part that they're talking about along with this is what we've been asking for. And it seems like they're stepping up to the plate. Don't forget the change from the bank to the person that closed down from the Old Town Project to PNC to now somebody else taking it over. And they want to move with it. And I think you're going to be excited about the other part that they are going to present to you here.
And I'll just butt in real quick on the residential side. To be clear, we're not asking to increase the number of units. It won't exceed 1,700 as is currently approved. And then also, we are moving forward with plans at this point. You are going to see something happen in Old Town. It's not going to sit idle as it has for all these years. We have plans in the works. We have things that we're getting ready to submit and things that have already been submitted so that we can move forward with seeing something happen out here at this property. And then to plug in Chuck, since he couldn't be here, Chuck would,
Hold this one in.
yeah, and I'll orient this one. So this is the part that you're probably a lot more excited about.
So this
Which
is
is
all
let me.
I'm so sorry, Pia. Hold it.
So the pieces that they're showing you, Beth has this side of New Hope Road, the eastern side, those parcels, kind of that rectangle almost. And Eric has the western side, the elongated piece over there. And those are oriented the same way you see here. So the majority of the land's on the eastern side with some on the western side as well.
Yes, and what they've done is to try to mimic the prior approval under the original PDD in 2003 in terms of allocating the commercial uses. So you'll see here they're anticipating in the village center an area where there would be anchor users like a grocery store or a Target or something similar to that. An area here where there would be smaller, more junior anchors. And then a large area at the front, which they envision as being a restaurant row that they imagine would include sit-down restaurants and similar items. And then a small park that would complement the park that is a committed element of the residential portion. It's intended to be a city park dedicated to the city, although the city will determine whether they would like to accept it or not. And then they would like a small component here that would include some residential. They'd like to have urban style apartments, and they've said that they are envisioning studios and 1 and 2 bedrooms, but nothing beyond that. So this would be sort of a more urban complement to the more typical apartments that Halley would provide. And across the street was intended to be more office and vehicle oriented. So they're imagining that there would be some out parcels here that would have things like your drugstore and your gas station, your car wash. And then there would also be some spaces for offices that could be mixed in. They focused on the connections here. They show 2 potential areas for pedestrian connection. One that connects with the existing drive, and one that could have a pedestrian island in the center, to encourage a connection between this smaller piece across the road and the main community. So, working together, we have tried to be true to the original vision of Old Town and to provide those elements that were originally promised. In terms of the retail, they are moving forward more quickly with their zoning process. My understanding is that they have filed a request for a waiver, which is the start of the zoning process for them, and then they will be moving forward to the zoning process. I think that the commercial folks would like to hear from the CAC at the next meeting the thoughts on the commercial proposal. The residential piece is moving a bit more slowly, and so I expect we'll be with you perhaps through May and June as well. But wanted to kind of give you that overview and take any questions or comments you might have. Yes, ma'am.
With the pedestrian walk, are they considering maybe over Ridge Road all?
No.
Because that's a lot of traffic that comes from New Hope.
Yep, so I think.
That's gonna be subject to NCDOT's approval, but the idea, it's kind of there's two sides to it. The one side is, it appears, and I know from driving it, it's unsafe for a pedestrian to cross there right now. With a tabletop with some lights, maybe even gate arms or something to that effect, if DOT allows it, it can also serve to calm traffic and slow people down who are just riding down that road, because the distance between the lights has gotta be 2 miles, from that intersection of going north. So anything that can be done to calm the speed of traffic in that area might be a positive. So while it's unsafe right now, there might be that silver lining to something like this.
Well, and it would be a signalized intersection as well, that main entrance that goes into kind of the larger property as well, which would have crosswalks, all those types of things as well.
I have a question.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
understand that there's a variety of price points for the homes there. Could you elaborate more on what would be the median home prices?
So, it's gonna depend when they're actually built. So it's probably, 2 years to,
Hopefully, we're gonna be 2 years in the first phase of starting. We'll be doing a lot of work before then, but as you all are probably aware, there was a lot of infrastructure completed there previously by the developer. There's water, sewer, storm drainage already in the ground. But we're gonna look at being not in any specific price points, but being, myriad of different price points. So when the bank came in and they talked about this rezoning, they had mentioned that some homes would start in the 100s and probably go into the 300s. We still see that as being viable.
And I know that you guys said that you have a presence here in Wake County. Are there other communities
Absolutely.
that are similar to this proposed plan?
Not of the same scale. We have never done something this large. We've done something, the largest community we have is Ellis Crossing in Durham. It's right off 147 and Ellis Road. Another project we did that's a large scale project would be the Villages of Apex, which is right off Hunter Street in Apex, across from Town Hall. The most recent apartment community we built, which has some townhomes and single family homes under construction, is called the Villages at McCullough Walk, which is at 401 and 1010 in Garner. And our company website has all our project information on it. It's HalleyCompanies.com, HALLE companies.com. You'll be able to see a lot of the other projects as well. And to the extent you don't like the website, I would love your feedback. Always looking to make it better. And I know this is a lot of information, and it's a lot to digest. And we are gonna be here at least 2 more times, so please don't feel like you have to have all your questions now, and really this is more of an informational.
yes, sir.
What's your order of building? Like what will come first?
Yeah, the phasing and all that.
Yeah.
You want to speak to the residential?
For the residential, where's the other map? I
behind
can
that.
give you a better visual. For the residential, our first thing we would like to do, if this all worked out, would be to do the apartments. The apartments we've preliminarily shown being here on Rock Quarry. And I know traffic is always a major concern. Part of our plans will be to widen Rock Quarry and widen New Hope. With the apartments, there is an existing sewer line that we can tie into, so we're gonna have to build a road that does something like this and the connection out to here. That is the initial of what's going to happen. After that, from our standpoint, it would be everything to the west of that creek. But I don't know exactly what that's going to be. I don't know if that's townhomes, single-family homes, duplexes, what, I just don't know that yet.
I would just say an estimate of a build out for something like this might be 10 or 15 years, for instance, depending on how the economy goes.
Yes.
Give you order of magnitude. And then the commercial, I don't think we know because we don't represent that group, but a lot of times the commercial tenants prefer to have some of the rooftops in place in close proximity as the area continues to grow and densify from that standpoint as well.
You said that originally is, as far as the apartments or anything going there was designated for seniors. Will you designate some of the apartments for seniors?
We're not going to designate part of the apartments for seniors if the request is approved. We're here to get some of that feedback, and we're thinking about doing some kind of pod near to the commercial, near to the park, and near to the amenity facility that would be for that restricted age group. Yes, but we're not gonna do that in the apartments. And part of that is really an enforcement issue, and then another part is a marketing issue. So if we have 50 units that are for seniors, who's checking up on that? And then if we have 40 of them filled and we're filled up everywhere else, are we gonna really have to sit there with 10 vacant units? It's not really financially feasible for us. So I think this idea that we had, and it's very recent that we had this idea to create some kind of pod that would just have age-targeted products. That's very new. We don't know exactly what that looks like, but hearing that feedback kind of feeds to the idea that this is something viable for the area. So thank you.
I just said it because you have a lot of people that are retiring here, and then you have a lot of seniors that are kind of downsizing.
Right.
Now, again, baby boomers are getting into that age when they want to downsize and don't have the kids at home anymore, so they don't need the big house anymore.
Absolutely.
So are any of the apartments gonna be income-based?
They aren't planned to be.
Really, some of the questions you all have are the same questions I had with them when I met with them concerning that and different things. Don't forget, even the people off of holiday in the States and everything, and in the southeast part, they even dubbed this as the Dust Bowl because nothing's been there since the plan first came out in 2003. So, and just to see something beginning to try to move, and just like we said, even with some of the things that we're saying, they got 2 to 3 months to come back. And I think with the retail part, I saw somebody say, yeah, this is something we'd like to see. But they'll be taking down your notes and stuff at the next meeting concerning, because I told them that what you stated would be the things that would be coming out of the meeting. And we were concerned about senior citizens, and we were concerned about some of the other things. So they listen. And I think this is a project that we definitely very interested in because nothing is there and nothing has been there. So we're glad to see, because the only thing we had is just a bluff. The only thing that was built up there on that side of the road during that time. But I think we got a project here that get your questions together when they come back next month. Have some more questions for them, and let's keep asking the questions. They won't know until we ask the questions. They come back and give us some feedback on them. Okay, that's the main thing. That's why they're giving the presentation tonight. And I appreciate you taking the time to bring this up, and I'd like to have another card, because the secretary would need a card from you if you got one. Do you have one of your cards with you?
Yeah, I have it at the car.
I know Beth.
Yeah, I have one, sure. Yeah, absolutely.
So make sure the secretary says she can record it.
I will. I will.
Okay.
I wanted to, in those areas there, there's a lot of overhead wiring. What is that gonna be a conflict?
So that is primarily in the area that's intended to be commercial. It's a power line easement, and what they have determined is that they can locate a central parking area under those power lines, because they can't put buildings and they can't plant trees, but they can put parking. And so they thought that it would make sense to make that sort of a central parking area that could utilize the space but not cause any issues with the power lines. So that was their.
Is that wide won't interfere with none of the electronic?
I don't believe so, sir. No.
A lot of area wire.
Any other questions? Okay, you're on the agenda for next month, right?
We'll see you next month. Thank you so much.
I have one question, I won't be here next month. As far as transit, the buses now go out to Battle Bridge. On the back, I guess on the way back, would they be able to have a stop in somewhere within the commercial area? Possibility?
Yeah, there are lots of buses running now along Quarry Road, and so we anticipate that there will be an opportunity for them to move through the community. And one of the reasons I think Eric and the Halley Group identified roughly this area as appropriate for the apartment site to start is to take advantage of that, mass transit that's taking place there now. So we are aware of that and intend to utilize that as a benefit. So.
And Veronica, while you're on that question, supposed to be inviting David Eatman from the city transportation. He's supposed to be out here to give a presentation on the shelters and the bus route next month. But so if you have any questions, since you would not be here, you can type it up and give it to him. We'll present it to you.
Okay.
You can present it to him. You can email him before that. Okay. And he'll probably give you your answer before you. Okay. All right. Any other? Okay. Really appreciate y'all taking the time. Okay. All right. And they invited me out. They didn't feed me when I was out there. I thought I'd let you all know that. All right.
Okay, great.
I will go
You
get
guys-
one for you. I will get one for you.
Okay, great, or you can just, shoot me an email. Go ahead, please, because it's raining out. You guys can shoot me an email with your information.
Make sure the secretary gets it over.
Oh, okay, and the secretary needs to call. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you guys so much.
All right, thank you very much for coming. And before the rains keep coming back and back.
Don't forget your surveys.
Okay.
If you don't have one, it's probably one on the NCC. There's surveys
All right.
for Adam.
Okay, okay, we got get ready to close this thing now. We got a community announcement. I call him Busy B. So we call him Mr. Belk. So he's got an announcement he want to make, and then I have a couple announcements to make, and then we can all host this thing out.
Yes, I think, it's an honor to be here tonight. Whipple Hill Association is, having a meeting that's coming up, weekend, 13th, 10 to 12, and, we're gonna have a cleanup day, May the 4th. So we'll clean up the park a bit more, and, trying to make sure that we encourage the promises and everything that has been made at Gilmore will continue. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, and you'll be getting out with some more information on this. You told them May the 4th, you'll be having your neighborhood meeting this week, right?
This weekend.
This weekend,
Yeah.
okay. All right. Okay, because he wanted to make that announcement, so if anybody wants to be involved with that, at least that won't be at the same time we're trying to do the cleanup down here at the place down here, right? Okay, a couple things I need to make. I had one thing that might be of interest. Every year, Congressman Price come through and give this health fair free down at the New Salvation Army off of Capitol Boulevard, and I have things back there. The only thing you have to make an appointment for, if you're trying to get your teeth filling and extraction, you do have to make an appointment. But everything else is free. Visual screening, glucose screening, blood pressure screening, all this stuff. I have pick up one of them and pass it to someone. It's free. And I've been out there many times and just to promote what they were doing down there. And they used the dentist people from Wake and different other places, and from the school at Wake Tech to be there to do that. And so this is something we need. Everybody talk about healthcare. You got something free to get something done and get some results on it. Pass it to other people, and this would be a good thing to have that we need to pass along. I even took one to my church, and they already got it on the website. So if you need one to take, and this is for, we talk about our senior citizens and we talk about other people. Healthcare is very important. Let's promote it and try to get some people to that. I forgot to bring up something from our last RCAC retreat that we had. ECAC put out a beautiful calendar for their ECAC, and everybody was looking at it at the retreat. And so we know it costs a little bit to have it printed, and we do have some funds, And what it is, not only do they have on theirs, the calendar of the months, of the meetings, of the holidays, and other things that's going on in the city of Raleigh, and some of the things we have on our form. And I think this would be something that we need to call our own, and come up with our South CAC calendar for the year. You won't have to wait to see what the date of the CAC meeting is. You already have that on your refrigerator somewhere like this. And I wanted to bring this out, and we'll probably start with, if we can, I don't think it'll take that long to get them printed. We might be able to have them, I'll ask Pam. We need to figure out a cost on them. And I think they're very, talked to two people that were at the retreat that did this, and they gave a quote back on it. We're only talking about what, $50 to $100 at the most?
I'll look into it, I'll find out.
Okay, and would you give a report on this at the next meeting?
I will.
Okay, and then get a vote on it and see if we want to move forward with this. And Veronica want to move, since she won't be here. If you give your yeah and nay in writing, you have to take care of it for me, okay? All right. We have any more discussion of anything? Anybody need to make an announcement on anything?
Was our city inspector not here tonight?
No, he was not. He was not here. That's why I made a report about the three things that I reported to him, and he made a report back to me.
Well, I have a complaint. If I take the time to pick up trash, and if I call the city for a trash truck to pick it up, I give them the address. It's not no reason why that trash could be on the side of the road for more than 3 weeks. You know, if I pick it up and put it at a location, I give you the address, and I call the right number. I call the city, you call the water department, they connect you with solid waste. There's no reason why that trash should still be there. Okay. On Seabrook, on Crosslink. Okay. I have no problems picking it up because I don't like cycling on these main roads where people just litter, throwing bottles on the curb, throwing bottles. So I do it on my day off as a means of exercise. I don't mind doing it. Okay. But I want somebody to pick it up in a timely manner. I don't want it sitting on the side of the road. I purposely went by to see if it was still there from last week. I called, it's still there. It sure is.
Did you call?
It's on Seabrook 1022 and on up the hill 1008. I tell them exactly where it is. And as a matter of fact, I see a single truck. I thought, okay, I call them on Monday or Tuesday. By Friday, when it's time to pick up the trash, it will be picked up. No, still not picked up.
And you called solid waste, and you reported it to them.
And they gave me a confirmation.
And they gave you a confirmation?
Yes, sure did.
You have a copy of that?
Yes,
you have a copy of that confirmation? Give it to me, and I'll do a follow-up on it.
You know,
okay.
I don't mind doing that, but I don't like the disparity of them not taking care of Southeast Raleigh.
Okay.
The streets are awful. Okay. And that bothers me.
Okay, well, you give me that you have that confirmation number with you tonight? If not, I'll give you my, you can text it.
I got it for you. I saved it on my phone.
Okay, all right, good. All right, any other comments?
So I don't know with the cleanup, if we're considering, or I think it's something the city should do as far as that bridge, 440 bridge, Rock Harbor Road. There's cigarette butts, all kinds of debris that's out there on a regular basis, all along that bridge.
Like it needs to be swept.
Another one? Yes. That's another thing we'll bring up next month. That's a state road.
Okay.
The city, that's a state road.
Make a note since I
but they would be. But we have brought that up before. Okay. But we will continue to bring it up. No problem. Okay. You have that, Pam? Okay. Okay. All right. If there is nothing else for, we call this meeting adjourned for tonight. Thank you very much.